In the 1990s, Kevin, for some strange reason, well, I can't explain it, became the most popular boy's name in France. This was due to Kevin Costner because the French really liked his sort of breakthrough hit movie in the 90s, Dances with Wolves. And they also really liked Home Alone, and the kid in it, played by Macaulay Culkin, was called Kevin. So this gave birth, if you like, to a generation of Kevins. Now, Kevin, not dissimilar to what's happened in this country, has gone on to be a name in France that is synonymous with bad haircuts, working class morons who sit around watching television. I'm not saying that working class people are morons, but that is the image that the French have of people called Kevins. There's a guy called Kevin, Kevin Farfounou, who's made a documentary called It's called Save the Kevins, and he's gone down to the Cannes Film Festival to try and hijack Kevin Costner and say, look, you started this is your fault, what do you think about it? But it's serious because people called Kevin, apparently in France, they have trouble getting jobs, people look down on them, they're shunned. I mean, as a fellow Kevin, I find that to be shocking.
I got a book here, the Archipel Francais, and it's about the fracture of France. And it's got a chapter about this very phenomenon. It was written about 6 years ago. And you're right. I think between 1989 and 1986, there were 160,000 babies christened Kevin. And it wasn't just Kevin. It was Dylan. It was Brandon after Beverly Hills. You had a lot of Cindys after Cindy Crawford. My next door neighbor, who's 23, she's a Cindy. And there's a huge amount of cultural snobbery tied into this because the cultural left in France, a bit like the cultural left in the UK, look down very much on American culture. And they see this importation from the States as a sign of the disintegration of French culture. And it's very interesting because the president of the National Rally, that was the National Front, and it's Marine Le Pen's party. The president of that is I've just been watching him on TV. He's debating with the Prime Minister, Jordan Bardella, another American name. So it's very interesting that they're demonized, and it's actually another strand of resentment that what the French call the classe populaire, the working class, feel towards the chattering classes, and it's tied into the economy, the anywheres and the somewheres. But it really is. It's more than just sort of a bit of a light-hearted subject. The French, being the French, are really studying it quite profoundly.
Yeah, indeed. As I say, Kevin Costner could well be intercepted at the Cannes Film Festival. As a Kevin, I can tell you, there's a similar syndrome here. When I was, growing up, or when I was a young man, people used to say, which council estate were you born on? That sort of thing. Because Kevin has a sort of bad connotations. There's Kevin Costner there. There he is at the Cannes Film Festival, I do believe. So it's all his fault. My very best to all the Kevins of France, Gavin. Just got a few minutes left. Tell me what the French reaction is to Rishi Sunak's sudden snap election announcement yesterday, and the likelihood that it'll lead to a Keir Starmer Labour government. How will that affect? What are the French thinking now, and how will that affect relations between Britain and France?
I hate to break it to you, Kevin. The French really don't care. They consider, I think, like a lot of countries, they consider Britain a basket case. Now, France is a basket case as well. And I think that's probably tied into it, that you've got Sunak and Macron, who are both archetypal technocrats.
Yep.
And the French have had more than enough of their own technocrat, Macron. And they see in Rishi Sunak just another bloodless bureaucrat, really, who's got no charisma and no idea about, like Macron, a very wealthy man, no idea how most of the world lives. And the only time he came over to France was the beginning last year. If you remember, he and Macron, they stood there. this was the hour they were going to solve a migrant crisis.
Yeah.
And well, we know how that turned out.
Well, and Rishi said, Rishi said to him, to Macron, by the way, here's a cheque for £500 million, or £500 million euros.
Oh, messy. Yeah, that's right. Yeah.
They didn't.
Yeah. So
go on.
No, I was just going to say, yeah. I mean, it really has received very little coverage, but of course, France has got a lot of problems of its own. Macron's just flown across the other side of the world, New Caledonia in the Pacific Island, the French overseas territory. There's an insurgency going on there, half a dozen dead, over €1 billion worth of damage. So they've got enough on their plates. But in answer to your other question, Kevin, about, assuming Starmer does win, I think it's going to be very interesting because he's quite a bit older than Macron. Macron doesn't like that. Macron likes to be top dog. And he'll try and dominate Starmer the way he tries to dominate everyone. But really, his credibility's taken such a hit in the last 2 years with economic crisis, immigration crisis. Crime is just going out of control in France, that he's almost a lame duck president. And so I think Starmer just needs to, if he is prime minister, stand up to Macron and take none of his Gallic schmoozing.
I couldn't agree more. Any chance that the French might sort of swing right like other countries like Holland and get rid of Macron and replace them with Le Pen or something like that?
Well, that's not going to happen until the next election, which is 3 years away.
Could that happen?
I think Oh yes, I think so. Every day now on the French equivalent of your show, Kevin, there are commentators predicting that Le Pen is going to win. As I mentioned, this Jordan Bardella, he's only 28, working class lad, north of Paris. He's capturing the young vote, and they're just so disillusioned with Macron. And there's really a sentiment of, hey, we've tried everyone else. Centre left, centre right, centre. Let's try Marine Le Pen. So were I a betting man, I'd put a few quid in her.
Yeah, fascinating. Gavin, come on again soon. I want to keep in regular touch with you. Gavin Mortimer from The Spectator over there in France.